I've met soldiers who think they can follow in Rita's footsteps and fail, and I've met some who recognize her for the prodigy she is and never even try to match her. But you're the first person I've met who realizes the distance between themselves and Rita, and yet is prepared to run it. The more I understood war, the more I knew just what a prodigy Rita was. The second time through the loop, when Rita joined us in the PT session, I'd only stared at her the way I had because I was a new recruit who didn't know any better. Now that I'd been through the loop enough times to call myself a real jacket jockey, the gap between her and me seemed even greater. If I didn't have, literally, an infinite amount of time, I would have given up. With a magnificent leap, Shasta plucked the silicon chip from my hand. Hang on. Let me give you some papers for that axe before you go. Thanks. She made to leave for the papers, then stopped. Can I ask you something? Shoot. Why do you have the number 47 written on your hand? I didn't know what to tell her. On the spot, I couldn't come up with a single believable reason a soldier would have to write a number on his hand. Oh, was that? I hope I didn't say anything I shouldn't have. I shook my head. You know how people cross off days on a calendar. It's something like that. If it's important enough to write it on your hand, it must be something you don't want to forget. 47 days till you go home, maybe. Or the days until your girlfriend's birthday. If I had to put a name to it, I'd say it's the number of days since I died. Shasta didn't say anything else. I had my battle axe. Second part, and third part. 0600, wake up. 0603, ignore Yonabaru. 0610, steal silicon chip from armory. 0630, eat breakfast. 0730, practice basic body movement. 0900, visualize training during effing PT. 10:30, borrow battle axe from Shasta. 11:30, eat lunch. 1300, train with emphasis on correcting mistakes of previous battle in jacket. $1,500, meet Furl for live training in jacket. 17:45, eat dinner. 18:30, attend platoon meeting. 1900, go to Yonabaru's party. 2000, check jacket. 2200, go to bed. 0112, help Yonabaru into his bunk. This was more or less how I spent my day. Page break indicated by a small pattern. Outside of training, everything had become routine. I'd snuck past those sentries so many times I could do it with my eyes closed. I was starting to worry that I'd become a master thief before I made it as a professional soldier. Not that the ability to steal anything, in a world that resets itself at the end of the day, every day, would do much good. The daily grind didn't change much from one pass through the loop to the next. If I strayed really far from the routine, I could force something different to happen. But if I didn't do anything, it would play it the same way as always. It was like everyone kept reading from the same script they'd been given the day before, and ad-libbing was frowned upon. It was 11:36, and I was eating lunch in cafeteria number 2. The lunch lady served me the same amount of onion soup at the same time, in the same bowl. I moved my arm to avoid the same splash as it traced the same arc through the air. Dodging calls from friends throughout the cafeteria, I sat in the same seat. Rita was sitting 3 rows in front of me, her back to me as she ate. I hadn't chosen this time to eat because it coincided with her lunch. It just worked out that way. For no particular reason, I'd gotten used to watching her eat from the same angle each day. Cafeteria number 2 wasn't the sort of place a sergeant major like Rita would normally be expected to dine. It's not that the food was bad. It was pretty good. But it didn't seem likely to impress someone who woke up in an officer's private sky lounge each morning and had half the base at her beck and call. I'd even heard the U.S. Special Forces had brought along their own cook, which only deepened the mystery of her presence. She could have swallowed a live rat, and wouldn't have seemed more a snake in our midst. And so our savior ate alone. No one tried to talk to her, and the seats around her were always conspicuously empty. For all her prowess in battle, Rita Vertasky ate like a child. She licked the soup from the corners of her mouth, and drew pictures in her food of the tips of her chopsticks. Apparently chopsticks were something new to her. At 11:43 she dropped a bean on her plate. It rolled, picking up speed, bouncing first to her tray, and then to the table. The bean flew through the air with a clockwise spin, careening toward the concrete floor. Every time with lightning reflexes, Rita would extend her left hand, pluck the bean into the air, and gram it into her mouth. All in under 0.11 seconds. If she'd lived back in the Old West, I imagine she'd have outdrawn Billy a Kid. If she'd been a samurai, she could have read every flash of Kojiro Sasaki's katana. Even when she was eating, the Full Metal Bit was the Full Metal Bit. Today, like every day, she was trying to eat a numabashi pickled plum. She must have confused it for an ordinary piece of dried fruit. After 2 or 3 attempts to pick it up with her chopsticks, she put the whole thing in her mouth. Down the hatch, Rita doubled over as though she'd taken a 57mm round right in the gut. Her back twitched. Her rust-colored hair looked like it was about to stand on end, but she didn't cough it back up. Tough as nails, she had swallowed the whole thing, pit and all. Rita gulped down a glass of water with a vengeance. She must have been at least 22 years old, but you'd never guess it watching her. The sand-colored military uniforms didn't flatter her, but if you dressed her up in one of those frilly numbers the girls in town were wearing, she'd be pretty cute. At least I like to imagine so. What's wrong with this food? It tastes like paper. You enjoying yourself? The voice came from over my head. Holding my chopsticks without moving a muscle, I looked at the corner of my eye. A prehistoric face looked down at me from beneath a flat-top haircut that leveled off about 2 meters above sea level. His features were more dinosaur than human. Definitely some velociraptor lurking in that family tree. My spirits fell when I saw the tattoo on his shoulder. A wolf wearing a crown. He was from the Fourth Company. The company holding a grudge against us over that rugby game. I went back to lifting food to my mouth with machine-like regularity.